All right, welcome back to FAWKES News. Got a big show for you. As always, today's a live show with a lot of people in the chats. David J, Bosco Autry, Will Craig. Thank you guys so much for being in there. To joining me today, I've got Deadleg and Jason Kiefer from I'm Out of Here podcast. Again, apologize for sounding drunk this morning. It's extremely cold here in North Carolina as we are preparing for Snowpocalypse 2025. I don't even know it's going to be that big of a deal. I was in Michigan working with Fall Studios on some projects last week, and it snowed a lot. Like, it snowed pretty daggone hard, and nobody even mentioned that it was snowing. I'm not used to that much snow. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and finally I brought it up. I said, hey, is anybody going to talk about like how much it's been snowing in the last 2 hours? And like, what are you talking about? It's a dusting. I'm like, are you, what? This is like, for me, it was a blizzard. But anyway, we're supposed to get like a big whopping 1 to 2 inches of snow today. And so we have pretty much just dove down into complete chaos here in the city of Raleigh. Everything is being closed and canceled. And so this morning was quite busy for me as I was preparing my family for Snowpocalypse. But we're here now, and it's a little bit cold. Today's show, we're covering Mayor Eric Adams in this obvious coup. I always like it when big government or what's remaining of the big left, the government, the rhino right's pretty silent these days. But the far left is very boisterous as usual. They haven't got it yet. The veil hasn't been lifted from their eyes that they have been duped for such a long time that they still think that they still believe in this two-party system, and they're going to hold it to the death. And whenever this far left, this big government, more government entity, the far left, the Democrat Party, as you know it, whenever they start blaming the Donald Trump Party, which I do not call the Republican Party anymore, I call it the Reasonableness Party. But whenever they start blaming the Donald Trump Party of something, it's usually because they are guilty of that something 9 times out of 10. So whenever you hear them shouting, there's a coup, best believe that it's probably because they are actually committing some sort of coup, which is exactly what is going on in New York. So we're going to talk about it. We have this Delta airline, this airliner that flipped upside down in Toronto, Canada. A lot of speculation out there, news running wild, spouting out the mouth as independent big government journalism does these days, which is why it's so important to seek out journalistic outlets like FAWKES Fox News, so that you can get a different perspective than what the mainstream is giving you, propaganda media is feeding you. Because if anybody with a half a brain wanted real news on this, it would be kind of the way we're going to give it to you today, which is, here are a few facts, but this investigation is going to be a very complex investigation, and to throw stones so early is unwise, it is foolish, and it is juvenile. And frankly, mainstream media has gotten extremely petty with their coverage of this crash. So petty as to go and blame Donald Trump or politics for a plane crash that didn't even happen inside of our country. But maybe our country is to blame for the crash. We're going to talk about it as a panel. Also, we have these patriotic games. I call them the Patriot Games, which is hockey. And tonight, USA will face off against Canada. And I'm really liking what I'm hearing from the Canadian coach. So I want to talk about that. Thank God we have Jason Kiefer, who knows a little bit more about sports than I do. But that's what we're going to get into. Also, we've got a little bit of DOGE, more uncoverings of DOGE. We could literally just do an entire DOGE segment every week, I feel like, because just every day they are uncovering something new and exciting. Today's show is brought to you by ghostbed.com. Sleep so good it's scary. Also, we've got Battle Tested Brands, which is veteran-owned company that has battle-tested coffee, battle-tested barbecue sauce. I think there's some battle-tested hot sauces out there. But anyway, really fond of their, this is a whiskey flavor, slow roasted to perfection coffee. What I really appreciate about the battle-tested coffees that I have been drinking now for 2 weeks, leading up to the start of this ad campaign, getting to know this product better and better. By the way, this is not my first go with battle-tested barbecue sauce. If anybody knows me I am a grillaholic. I love smoking meat. I like smoking beef ribs. I like smoking briskets. I'll do pork ribs. I'll smoke just about anything. I love running the grill. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's kind of like just this really mindless hobby that I don't take too seriously. I just do it a lot. I try different woods and different charcoals, and I have a great time. And I have used battle tested. Actually, in a contest that we did in Southern Pines, North Carolina, I used the battle tested barbecue sauce. So I'm very familiar with their sauce. But getting into their coffee the last 2 weeks, it's like low acidity or something. It really is. I've got to talk to him and ask him like what's up with that. But I don't get any kind of like acid reflux. I don't get any kind of heartburn or anything drinking this straight, just drinking straight black coffee. So I'm not sure if it's just lower acidity or what's up, but I'm actually a major huge fan after 2 weeks of drinking this. It's so much different than what I was drinking, which was just organic coffee or Black Rifle. Still love my Black Rifle coffee when I get it. But this battle tested is definitely something new. And the whiskey flavored slow roasted coffee, that was my first time having something like that. Very, very cool. I like it. I own a distillery, owned a distillery. I don't own it anymore, but I used to own a distillery. And so, I've always been fond of a little bit of whiskey and rum and anything of the flavor. So yeah, thank you, Battle Tested. And then we also have Shield Box. Before we get into today's news stories, I want to give a shout out to Books Behind the Badge. Go and follow them on Instagram, Books Behind the Badge, diving into all things badge related books. They reviewed Piglet and a Seriously Funny True Story. By the way, guys, I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing for this book. Simon and Schuster gave me an opportunity, and we're going to jump into today's show. And I have to say this really fast because so many of you guys have come together from the Failure to Stop Podcast Network and FAWKES News to buy my book. And I want to let you know how special this is. I have to let you know that this isn't just some kind of like fake hype deal. I signed, and I'm not saying this to brag, but it is important. I signed a 1% book deal. Top 1% book deal with Simon Schuster for a cop book in today's environment. As a cop comedy, as a serious comedy, they really went out onto a limb. Right now, the way the pre-sales are going, we have surpassed Simon Schuster's average. By the way, I'm a first-time author, and this is a cop book, so it is a very big deal. My agent is so stoked on a nobody like me with no social media presence, hardly. I'm sitting about 26,000 across the board followers across social media. It's not a lot. That's not influencer status by any means. And I'm a first-time author, so I have no clout. And I have surpassed the average for one of the top 4 major publishing houses in the freaking world. And he is like, dude, this is huge. If we continue at the pace that we're at, guys, listen. If we continue at this pace, come June, when the marketing actually starts for books, I will have the full rollout to Good Morning America, Fox News, all the major ones, because I will be number 1 for Simon Schuster's pre-sale list. I will be on the number 1. And I just think it's really cool. I love the hype that my agent has. He's super stoked on this. And that's why I'm stoked on it. I've never pre-ordered a book in my life. I've never done that. I don't do it. I mean, why would you? It doesn't make sense. But it is a big deal, and it goes a very long way getting to the New York Times bestseller list, which we've always had so much luck. They say that the hardest thing to do in podcasting is to get a 5-star rating and review. And if you can get 500 reviews, you're in the top 5% of podcasts. If you get over 1,000, you're in the top 1% of reviews. And I think, what are we at with Failure to Stop? We're like somewhere around 13 or 1,400 reviews. It's the hardest thing to do. And so I don't know how many reviews we're at right now on this new podcast on Fox. I think we're like around 30, if I'm not mistaken, but that's still huge. I think 30 is like top 20%. So, we've always had a lot of luck with these really difficult things to get our fans to do, like Leap's 5-star rating and reviews and pre-order a book. And it's really cool that like our followship has like a very high percentage turnover rate on getting people to buy products like Ghostbed. How long have we had Ghostbed? Let me bring on Josh and Jason here. Come on in, guys. How long have we been with Ghostbed? Years, right? Since you've known me. Oh,
Yep.
I think it's more. I think since I started podcasting, it's been like 4 or 5 years. Well, I mean, I started with Drinking Bros, but they've followed me. But it's, it's like we don't have the largest fan group, but our fan group puts out for us, man, and that's fine. That's freaking cool to me, man. It's like that makes you guys special. That makes you guys like important. You're not just some like internet floozies that are just out there in the social media lands. Like you guys are actually like real deal friends to me. Like you're real deal family. And that's why I respond to all of you as much as humanly possible on the social media webs. A lot of us have like these crazy debates and, but it's cool. I've got fans that call to pray for me and they give me enlightening messages in the morning that I get to wake up to. I think you just went through like a Bible study with some of the fans. Like I didn't even know. It's like bizarre. It's freaking fun. So, at the end of the day, no matter what, I know that I get to jump on here and talk to people who are more than just some kind of whimsical internet people. Like I know you guys and you guys support us, and that's really cool. So anyway, thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Today's show, we've got to jump into so many topics, and I don't want to waste any more of your time. Make sure you head over to ghostbed.com, support those who support us. Go ahead and get on that pre-sale for Pig Latin. Go to Amazon or wherever you want to go, Barnes and Nobles, whatever you want to do, and get a hold of the book today and be a part of this movement, man. Like not often does law enforcement get this chance, guys, that you get a law enforcement officer to really represent the community in a kind of like, I want to say a selfless way, because I can't get promoted. So I can't get promoted, and I'm not government contracting. I'm not selling any courses to police departments. I literally say the truth or what I really feel, or try to speak your guys' language without any kind of like, I don't have any motives and motivation to do this. So I'm not kissing any ass. There's not a lot of ex-law enforcement officers that are out there putting the voice of law enforcement out there without kissing ass in some way, form, or fashion, whether it's to sell their course or to do anything. I'm literally just trying to be funny and entertain you first responders in your police car, in your fire truck, in your meat wagon. All we're here is to inform and freaking entertain you. So be a part of the movement, be a part of this, share the show, share everything that we've got going on, and be stoked with us. Be excited. Don't be afraid to reach out to any of us on social media. You can follow Jason Kiefer at One More and I'm Out of Here, Deadleg at Deadleg Media if you're into that real nerdy shit. But I think that's another thing about our crew is that we're pretty damn approachable. I think we all do a good job of talking to our fans quite a bit. So be a part of our community, be a part of our brotherhood and our friendship. Don't be afraid. I hate when you guys message me. I don't know if you get this, Jason. It's like, I don't want to be bothersome to you. I don't want to be the weird creeper. I don't want to, like, you're not. What are you talking about? Like, we are a social media entertainment group. Like, we want to talk to people on social media. That's foolish. Why do you think you're stupid? Why do you think you're crazy and creepy? I mean, unless you're sending me tit pics or dick pics, it's not really that creepy. You know what I mean?
I'm not that cool. I got plenty of time. I'll answer anybody.
I know, right? Like people are like, hey, I don't want to be weird, but when you were talking about this, blah, 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 we're like, I don't want to be creepy. I know you're married, but I'm a female law enforcement officer, and I just want to weigh in this. It's like, it's not creepy. Like, there's nothing creepy about information about, like, what's creepy is like when you start like sending like, and I'm not even talking about like selfies with you and your kids. Like that's dope. Or you and your husband. But it's like, if you start sending me selfies with you, like in a bra and panties on, like depending on what you look like, I'll probably just, no, I'm just kidding. I'm going to block you. I'm a married man. I'm not, unless you're Josh and you've got really hairy boobs. I want to see this. Like, unless it's in jest and in comedy, I'm fine with it. It's not creepy because I have a very foul sense of humor. But like when you start getting like overtly sexual, or you're like literally trying to slide into my DMs, like if you're DMing me at like 2 a.m. and it's like hey, what's up? I'm not going to respond to that.
Why do I have a picture of you laying on a mantle with candles around you? I don't need that in my life.
Yeah. Like with you got a chocolate covered penis for Valentine's Day. I don't. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. But no, people send me the best stuff. And I've never really had a creeper jump into my DMs. I mean, I've had some people that like probably DM me too often with dumb memes. And every like other meme is great. And I appreciate a good meme. Like if you're one of those guys that sends me the memes, I love them. Like, trust me, I do see them, but I'm like at the point, like if you're sending me 4 and 5 a day, I'm looking at them, I'm laughing, but I'm not going to like respond to those. Does that make sense? It's not that I don't like them and I don't want you to stop sending them. I'm just don't expect like a, like I don't need to send like a haha. I just don't have time. Like I'm usually like walking in the door. I'm like, oh, I got a message from so-and-so. And I look at it. And I'm like, haha, that's funny. And I go out like, I appreciate it, but I'm just not going to like, you know what I mean? But yeah, if you send something else, I don't mind answering it, but so just know that I do appreciate you and I do like your memes, just might not respond to a meme by itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super Bowl champion Eagle. What's that?
I don't respond to all of them. It's just because if you send me the same meme, if you send me like some firefighter doing something stupid, and then somebody else sends me a firefighter doing stupid, and then 6 more people send me, and it's Keith doing something stupid, like I don't need to respond to the same thing 6 times. I've seen it 5 more times.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't like not appreciate it. I just can't. Yeah. I just can't do it. Super Bowl champion Eagle says, good morning, everyone. Currently -8 with a high of 4 degrees today before dipping below 0. Again, Eric has nothing to whine about down south. Boy, why so angry, Super Bowl champion? No, I'm allowed to be cold. I'm a Floridian by birth. I'm allowed to be. Tyler has said, I sent dick pics to Eric. He never responds. I enjoy them. I never judge them. I appreciate them, but I'm not going to respond to your beautiful dick pics.
Judging and critiquing are different. Judging and critiquing are different terms.
By the way, don't you think you should get that wart checked out, Tyler? That thing looks a little inflamed. I would fix that. We got Fulk around, find out up in the chats. What's going on? I'm Marie Knight. Appreciate you guys. Will Cray says, that's rookie numbers, bone cold. It's -20 where I am. Are we having a cold dick measuring contest here? I try to keep this a family-friendly show, and we've digressed into not very professional talk on the Fox News show, but I'm having fun. I'm having a good time. I love you guys.
I got -6. So
you got -6?
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Are we doing that right now, guys? Are we doing that right now? I've got
Who's
31.
Got
I got 31 to the plus. So
far I have the tiniest penis in the group.
That's what I was gonna say. The warmer it is, the bigger the wiener.
I've got 15 in the plus.
Oh, okay. Well, you're right down there. Damn, low Ren in the chats is winning with the a 46, a positive 46-inch wiener. No, I'm sorry, a 46-degree wiener. David J coming in second with a 40-degree wiener. Thank you so much. Corn Pop says, if I sent you a picture of my hog, it's only because we raise livestock. Wow, I appreciate it. David J now says it's 48, so he's one up in low Ren for wiener size. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Murph 530 says it's 50 here in Northern California. All right, so maybe Murph 530. I thought Murph 530 was a chick, but
we're covering the board here.
We're covering the gambit. I know everybody's degree of wiener sizes. I appreciate it. I'm into it today, guys. I'm into it. Let's jump into. We'll just get this one out of the way really quick. Anytime the far left, and I say that respectfully. I say it respectfully. It sounds disrespectful, but I don't believe in the two. I believe in the two-party system as being a very corrupt, anecdotal, just outdated way of thinking about politics. If that makes sense, does that make sense? What I just said there, the words that I used. It's cold. I'm using bigger words than I can get out. But I don't know why I said anecdotal, but. I don't believe that the two-party system is what you thought it was anymore. And I've said this before on this show, that the Republicans of old, my generation, the 40-plus-year-olds, the 1980s babies, we saw at a very young age, 18, 19 years old, we saw the dangers of being duped by our own party. So the Republicans of the 80s baby Republicans, we saw the corruption and what went on with 9/11 and with George Bush. And it's pretty evident if you scroll through TikTok or Instagram that we all very much believe that because we lived through it. And there are some conspiracies out there that are conspiracy fact. Some are more, some are more reasonable than others. But the fact is that you cannot say that 9/11 wasn't 0% nefarious on the government's part. Whether it's they allowed it to happen, they had a hand in it happen. The whole thing smelled rotten from the beginning. We all know it's rotten in some way or form. We may not know exactly how it's rotten, but it's like the JFK assassination. I think most people of that generation know that something nefarious happened and that the government had something to do with it. And we all feel the same way. And so we have turned away from that party, the Republican Party. And when we found Donald Trump, we found this Elon Musk, we found, the Tulsi Gabbard, all the things. Like we finally were like, oh, okay, finally there's something that's not the rhino right. There's something that's not this 1990s right wing. The left wing hasn't come to that realization yet. It hasn't been enough time separated from the Obama Biden days, from the COVID days, from the COVID era, from the Dr. Fauci era. Give it about, 5 or 6 more years. And you guys are going to be like, man, I'm embarrassed. Like, well, I probably should have succeeded to, yes, that shit was dumb. Our government was dumb and we were all bamboozled. And then you'll be right where we are right now, which is we're not so much Donald Trump fans as we're just fans that big government left and right are not around anymore. So when I say big left, it's not that I'm a fan of the big right. I'm not a fan of either big right or big left, except the big right has pretty much been overstepped, or there are more Trump supporters. The Reasonableness Party has outweighed what was once the big right. So the big right is pretty silent these days, but the big left, whatever the big left is saying to you or putting out in the media, in propaganda media world, whatever the gaslighting that they are throwing out is usually what they're exactly guilty of doing. So when they accuse you of absurd government spending, that's what they are, in fact, the ones guilty of. And how we have forgotten, or how the big left has any right to talk about government spending or DOGE or on uncovering government corruption. And you don't see that the vice president that you did not vote for, Kamala Harris, spent $2 billion on a campaign in 15 weeks that she lost.
Somebody spent that money.
Yeah.
The thing is like
that.
Where we are
with like, a Bush, billion for Bush, billion with a B, by the way.
Yeah. Where we are with things is the entirety of the nation. We have a sense of what's like common sense. There's like this normalcy middle ground that we're at. The politicians, they have taken this dial and shifted it so far skewed one way or the other that if you were center or even you were moderately left only a few years ago, you're radically right today. You haven't changed anything in your thought process, your beliefs, your values, but the far left, what we're calling it, has gone so far left that we're just okay with taking your money, your tax dollars, and sending it across the ocean to fund things that have nothing to do with the United States, have nothing to do with you, but you want us to just be okay with it. But when we go, hey, maybe this is a problem. It's not a problem until you start saying it's a problem. Because Eric Adams was all about the savior in New York, and they were all about New York and COVID, and we're going to put the masks on, and I'm going to be the savior of New York. And then he starts looking at the writing on the wall. I'm like, maybe the crime is not so good. Maybe people getting stabbed in the subway is not so good. Maybe all of these illegals in this city, taking all of these hotels and all this money we're spending on things that we don't have money to spend on our New Yorkers. Maybe that's not so good. And he starts saying those things out loud. And magically, what happens, Eric? He gets investigated.
It's the same thing that we've seen time and time again. Once you start speaking about, you speak up against the big left, again, not trying to be disrespectful, but when you start speaking out against the big left, political persecution happens. But what is Donald Trump being accused of right now? Political persecution. They're like, this is a dictator, a fascist, political persecution, and he's politically punishing everybody, as if they don't see what exactly has happened to Russell Brand, to all the big Democrats. I mean, Russell Brand was a big lefty Democrat. Joe Rogan, big lefty. Tim Pool, big lefty Democrat. Elon Musk, the list goes on. Eric Adams, big left Democrat, still a Democrat.
Bobby Kennedy.
Robert Kennedy. Jesus. Yeah, you're right.
Fetterman.
Yes. Okay. Fetterman. Very great point there too. You've got all these things. And then when they see the writing on the wall, it's like, it goes back to whatever you're accusing the Trump party of doing, because I don't want to call it the right-wing party, the Trump party of doing is what you are exactly guilty of. It's not political persecution. It is holding you guys accountable for what you have been getting away with for the last 30 years, right and left. And when you send me messages that say, well, hey, Eric, well, what do you think that's going to do when DOGE uncovers what these big Republican guys are doing and where they're going to corruption? I say, then that's amazing. That's what I want. I don't want any of these dirtbag politicians to be in there. What happened to APAC, right? The Drinking Bros used to love saying APAC all the time. All politicians are. Do they still say that a lot? I mean, I don't listen as much as I used to. But what part of all politicians are the C word do you not understand about our movement? So, yeah, I mean, we do want to see this big mass government corruption to go away. But what's going on right now with Eric Adams, and I believe the hearing is today. Let me just put this out for you. And the fact that Al Sharpton is on the other side of the fence on this, the fact that Al Sharpton's on the mayor's side, should tell you something. I don't understand if you're on the big left, wouldn't you be embarrassed? Wouldn't you leave that out anytime Al Sharpton gets involved or Ben Crump? With their record, with their track record of being objectively wrong, maybe we just leave that opinion out and seek another opinion. Is there somebody else out there that's more qualified than Al Sharpton to have such a weighing opinion? Oh, let's just start there. Who out there, if you were a Democrat and you wanted an opinion that fucking matters and that you actually trusted, who would you go to other than Al Sharpton or Ben Crump?
Well, real quick, the funny thing, Sharpton goes where the biggest fish are. He is a complete and utter pest in the fact that he'll stand in a press conference with some people but not others. And the fact that he jumped on Eric Adams, it's because it's huge news. But he doesn't give a shit about some Democratic governor that may be getting in trouble.
Well, he didn't jump on it. They absolutely paid him to be there.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure.
And that's my point is why does the Democrat Party continue? They bitch and complain about how the podcast space is being overran by toxic male Republicans, which they forget that the reason why all those toxic male Republicans that they're talking about were on their side of the fence.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a big meet. I mean, this is something that has come out a time and time again. The View has brought it up. Several outlets have brought it up about where are Vice has brought it up. Where are the Democrat elites, are the Democrat influencers? The influencers that the Democrat chooses to rally around are silly. And it's almost like they're trying to pick the most ridiculous. It's like when big mainstream media goes out and gets the interview with the, yeah, man, a tornado came through here and it took my chicken, my favorite chicken, corn pop, and whisked it right away. They don't go to the smartest guy to try to get a decent interview. It's like they always seem to find the retards. I feel like the Democrats going after people who the Bud Light chick or guy, whatever his name was, that's their rallying cries. And now we have this rally cry behind Al Sharpton. But I really want to know in the chats, if you were a Democrat, who do you think the Democratic Party should go after to be the influencer of their party in a thing like this? Is there some kind of New Yorker out there that would be more qualified to have an opinion on Mayor Eric Adams other than Al Sharpton? Where's Al Sharpton from, by the way?
Honestly, they could pick any actor that lives in New York because most of the actors are left. They could pick any actor that's currently living in New York. I was going to say, LA, but most of them are moving out of LA. But they're all leaning that way, and you're seeing all this, all these actors that, if Trump gets in, I'm moving. I'm leaving the country. Right. Well, I only know of one or two that maybe did, but to have a spokesperson, you could pick Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I know. Robert De Niro's got a big restaurant down there. He's a big part of downtown. Yeah, I mean anybody but Al Sharpton. I get it. Yeah, Al Sharpton. I was wondering if he was from the Bronx or if he was from Manhattan, but he's from Brownsville, New York. But
here's the thing.
I don't know. I just think that I would have anybody to pick. I would not be picking Al Sharpton to have an opinion on Eric Adams because I don't know. Is there anybody really out there besides the inner city hood that takes Al Sharpton seriously at all? Are there any middle class Pearsons of color and above, middle class and above, that actually think what Al Sharpton has to say is relevant?
That's actually a really good question because I don't have an answer for it, but I'd be curious if we could find one.
I can't see. The thing is they have to pay to try to get people to come to believe in what they're trying to spew. I'm not trying to get you to vote one way or the other. We're just putting out there what it is, and you're going to make your own decision. The thing is we're putting out there, hey, this is what's going on. These are the receipts for what's going on. This is where your money's being spent at. This is what's been going on behind the scenes. This is what's going on with New York. The other side of the aisle is like, hey, look at this famous celebrity saying that we're doing good. No, what did you do good? Tell me the good things that you did. Don't try to get Al Sharpton to show up. Don't lie to me. Tell me Beyonce is going to be doing a concert and then she doesn't show up. Tell me what you did. Actually do something. But the other side of it is like you're saying, Eric, I would say the writing's on the wall, but the writing's on the wall. The reason why they're doing this is they haven't been held accountable. The last couple of weeks hasn't happened. We had the last president who we had someone in office that sat there, and then some people ran the country for the last 4 years. Previous to that, Trump was in office and we did nothing but just put him through. We're going to impeach him on bullshit. We're going to impeach him on more bullshit. We're going to tie him up in litigation, and he can't get anything done with the time he's in office. Time the people elected to put someone there. And then before that, we're going to go Obama, Clinton, Bush, Clinton. So you've got all of this uniparty up until the part where someone says, hey, can we see what's going on behind the scenes? Can we look at what we're paying for? Can we see some receipts? Maybe let's cancel this Netflix. When's the last time you actually watched something on Netflix? Who pulled up Hulu last? Let's cancel that subscription too. Let's get rid of this Amazon Prime. Are we really using that? And they're going through and they're checking all the boxes and going, hey, none of this stuff is actually what it is. So then they start investigating him and said, hey, well, we're going to investigate you, Eric Adams. That's because you're not towing the party line. You're not saying what we're going to say. And you either toe the party line, or you're going to get Al Sharpton is going to show up. We're going to get the governor show up. We're going to get Obama to show up. We're going to get Beyonce to show up. We're going to get Taylor Swift to show up. We're going to get all these people to show up and say how bad you are. You either go with the party line or you're out. There's no other way with these people.
Right.
Yeah. If you stop drinking the Kool-Aid, you're out of the club.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you even question what's in the Kool-Aid, you're out of the club. That's exactly right. And that's what we see what's going on. And when you start reading the polls, who wants Eric Adams out? Now you got to remember that Eric Adams, like Joe Rogan, was a superstar, a rock star up until, Joe Rogan, the left never touched him. They never said a thing about his podcast. Nobody cared. People either knew about it and loved it or just didn't know about it at all, but nobody really had a negative. There wasn't anybody that had a negative opinion on the greatest interviewer of all time in the United States. Like, I don't know another interviewer that's as good or as listens as well and asks the smart questions or pushes as hard as Joe Rogan does, until he went against COVID. And then they absolutely went after him wholeheartedly with the inward stuff. They tried to find every little thing wrong. Thank God that Joe Rogan's a fairly pretty clean guy. He's been pretty honest about his whole life. So there wasn't really any shock factor moments to bring him down. Not like, Russell Brand, but again, Russell Brand was so honest his whole life. I mean, he portrayed the character he was in real life. So when it came out that he was a sexual deviant at one time before he became a born again Christian, nobody was really like, everybody cared that much. And the fact that they came up with sexual assault allegations only after he again spoke out against Pfizer and vaccines, I think that's what fell short, because I don't think the world, because this was the UK and America, wasn't just an American thing. I think just people in general aren't that stupid. We can see the writing on the wall. We can see what political persecution looks like because of the internet. And it's not like it was back in the old days where you could just bamboozle everybody. But here we go in New York, Eric Adams, the king, the rock star, the COVID guy. And then all of a sudden, people start not liking Eric Adams, who once was a cop, by the way, a cop turned mayor, which I mean, I don't take that how you will. To some, it's a good thing, to some, maybe not. But they end up getting inundated with this crazy mass immigration where they're putting illegal immigrants up in really nice high-rise hotels. Fentanyl problem is spreading. Crime is just infiltrating the subways. There's violence everywhere. People are getting punched in the face. And so they start to clean house and they start to move things the other way. And all of a sudden, the government starts pushing back on Eric Adams. Eric Adams pushes back, and he becomes public enemy number one to the Democrats. Why do you think Eric Adams would then go over to the Trump camp? There's nobody else to save him. You're the ones that flipped your own guy.
Yeah.
A guy that was put in charge of a city who the voters wanted him to fix the city because they were really pissed about their current situation. And then when he fixed it for the people, your own mayor, your governor, your Al Sharptons then go against him. And now he is a red-pilled Trump guy. Huh.
Which
How does that
funny,
work?
Which is funny because, during Trump's this last trial, Eric Adams was not very nice in the interviews about Trump, the things he said and everything else. But now all of a sudden he's like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I misspoke. And maybe they are right.
Well, what choice does he have? If
He
your
doesn't.
own party's going to go after you, you have no choice but to find an alliance or an allegiance somewhere.
You'd rather a lifeboat than a door floating in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you want him to do? Be ousted by his own community and talk shit about about Donald Trump? Because if he does that, then he's going to prison.
Right. Exactly.
And if you're not up on what's going on, which it's going to get dismissed today, no doubt. There is no evidence of this very minor corruption detail, which is a very bizarre corruption detail. Now, I'm not saying that Mayor Eric Adams isn't corrupt. I'm just saying what they're putting on him now is, again, very petty. Why couldn't you find more? And I bet you it's because if whatever is more that Eric Adams was involved in involves other Democrats in the Democratic Party. So you can't charge him with that corruption because it includes you. So you have to go after this very minor petty thing that doesn't go between this or that. So here it is. Let me read this cover to you from the New York Post. How federal judge's decision could determine Adams' fate as Governor Hochul mulls out ousting New York City mayor in historic move. Governor Kathy Hochul had a high-stakes conclave with various Democratic leaders over Mayor Eric Adams' fate on Tuesday and will wait for a ruling in his criminal case before deciding whether to oust him. Hochul convened a parade of Democratic muckety-mucks to march into her Manhattan office for advice as concerned about Adams' ability to govern the nation's largest city reached a fever pitch. Among them was Reverend Al Sharpton, who said after his meeting with the governor that Hochul would likely wait to see how a federal judge rules on the Justice Department's bid to drop the historic corruption against Adams. So Al Sharpton's opinion on this is that Hochul is going to only oust him depending on what the justice system says, which we know the justice system is going to drop the whole thing. So I am curious to see what it has. Let me just go to the alternative press really fast. As New York Governor Kathy Hochul weighs whether to remove New York City Mayor Eric Adams from office, AP Votecast shows that many New York City voters in the last year's election were already on board with the move. About 2/3 of New York City voters in November's election said at that time that they would approve of Hochul removing Adams, and most had an unfavorable view of the Democratic mayor. That's according to the AP. Now, you know what those people are in the poll that are upset with him? It's the white gentrified white people who have moved throughout the higher class white people. If you went into the hood, if you went into the people that were actually having crimes committed on them, people riding the subways, those people are 10 of the ones that are like, yeah, we want to see some change. But it's the uppity ups that are up in their Manhattan sky rises that don't get to see the day-to-day crime that are like, well, look, man, we're Democrat to the bone. We love LGBTQ plus, and we don't really care about inner city black people at all. They're not even real people. They're peasants. That seems like what the mindset is with today's far left party.
Well, and the whole Penny case, I think, was kind of an eye opener for anybody that was teetering. You had, when he got exonerated, you had people that were pissed, and then you had people that knew that he should be exonerated. And I think that was, there was already a divisive line, but I think that just added that little bit of fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the case goes today. I think it's laughable what he's being charged with. And I think it's at this point, I don't see any reason why they're going to continue on with the charges. So, but we'll see. That's all going down today. And, at the end of the day, the Democratic Party has to either like they have to rally around somebody that has an opinion worth valuing, or I mean, because it's not working for them. Like it's basing your whole life off of AOC. Like even your own party doesn't take AOC seriously, yet they keep campaigning on her. They keep giving her a microphone, and they keep running on her. And it's just like the Trump guys, like, we understand that, like, we have some wackadoodles on Republicans. What's the girl's name with the blonde hair out of Georgia?
Not McEnany. I know who you're talking about.
Not
Huckabee.
No, yeah, she's super funny. Taylor. Marjorie Taylor. Is it Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Super funny, and everybody kind of appreciates her, but we limit her microphone time. You know what I mean? Like the Trump party does a really good job of just giving her enough to, like, be seen, but like, we don't run on her as our party's mascot by any means. Not like they do with AOC, where it's bizarre. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to find their Joe Rogan. They really are. And then they're going to have to allow their Joe Rogan to fight back. I mean, we had the show on when we did the Monday night Society and Culture show, when they brought back the comedian for the late night show, and he went all in on going against Biden. Like, how'd that work out for you? And he's damn near red pilled at this point. So we'll see. They're going to have to make some changes. And again, it's going to have to come outside of bureaucracy and outside of the big government. And that's why the Trump party is working, because it's the people that are making the content, not the government. And the far left just wants the government to be in charge of everything. And what the government puts out is extremely dorky. It's extremely cringe. And it's never going to speak to the average day person. And you're going to continue to lose the majority vote when that happens. Let's get into the next thing here. I know that you have a lot to say on this. Before we get into the Delta airline flipping over, I just want to say this. All the news outlets that are putting out early that this could be women pilots, dumb, right? You have no idea. You didn't know. You could speculate all you want. Your calls are room for everybody that made memes. Now, some of the memes were really funny, and like, I appreciate that. But if you really believe that this was a diversity thing, or this has anything to do with diversity, before you know the facts of the case, I spoke with 3 commercial airline pilots about this. All 3 of them said this one something very similar to this in closing. All of them said something similar to this. They said, "I'm glad I wasn't in the cockpit." Sometimes things can just not go right. It's different. We have to take every case as a case by case. You cannot relate. You cannot try to find similarities in this case to the case that happened in the Potomac, where a plane hit a helicopter, because it's a completely different case, completely different scenario. In this case, we're going to have to wait for the facts to come out of this case. And I'm sure that once you see all the details, that this case actually looks like it's going to make pretty easy sense. Was it pilot error? Was it training error? I talked to one of the pilots, and he told me that crosswind landings, what do they call it? Sheer wind landings. Like that almost every pilot has put on some survey or another that they need more training in that. And that it's one of the most common things that they come in contact with, and they need more flight simulator time to work out some of the details in sheer wind landings like they did. And you could argue that training, that extra training, they're not getting that extra training because what are they getting training on? Is it diversity and inclusion? Is it, LGBTQ plus nonsense that plagued the Coast Guard? We covered that yesterday. That is why she was ousted, was because of letting all of the infrastructure of the Coast Guard go to shit while pushing an agenda that doesn't even account for 1% of the people serving in the Coast Guard. It makes no sense. So that is a question that has to be asked. But at the end of the day, from what we see right now, it almost looks like this is just one of those freak accidents. But you being very into aviation, you've been into it a very long time. I'd love to know what your take on this was. And I don't want any speculation, and I don't want to put any blame on anyone if possible yet.
Because when we look, like, you can look at video. You can look at we look at body cam video for Friday breakdowns, and we tell you all the time, we want more facts to come out. We want more information to come out. But a lot of times we can look at the video and get a pretty good assumption of what's going on. We could potentially say it's wind shear, and what would be a good supporting evidence. This is the transmission to the aircraft from the aircraft tower, giving them clearance to land. Endeavor 4819, Toronto Tower, winds 270 at 23, gust of 33, cleared to land, runway 23. You might get a side bumping on glide path. There's an aircraft in front of it. So air traffic control is telling the aircraft that's coming into land that, hey, other aircraft have been reporting there's issues with this coming into land. I had the video poll, if we want to play video. When the plane comes into land, the thing about wind shear, and I talk about wind shear that is one of the most dangerous times is in landing. Taking off is one thing, but landing is one of the most dangerous times, because you're scrubbing your speed, you're scrubbing your altitude, you're scrubbing all the things that would give you time. If you get wind shear 30 feet off the ground, you have 30 feet to deal with that. And if the wind shear drops you 80 feet in elevation, guess where you're going? Straight into the ground. So we watch this plane just based off of what I've seen and based off of other videos, other crashes, other things that we can look at. That's what it looks like. It looks like a hard landing.
One of the pilots told me exactly what you just said. And he also said, coupled with the ice on the runway and the conditions in the runway, you have to put the plane down hard as well, because if you try to skim the runway, you slide sideways and you slide off of the runway, it catches, and there's tons of things. So the plane has to come down harder than normal in those conditions anyway, coupled with what you said, the wind shear dropping out, slamming you down 22 times harder. Every one of those pilots I talked to, all three of them said, I'm just glad I wasn't
on the plane or in the cockpit.
Another pilot brought up to me,
you started to cut away there, just on the plane or because you have no time. So when the aircraft hits, the one wing goes away and everyone's like, well, why is it roll? Well, when you're flying, those wings are creating lift. And if you take one of those lift mechanisms away, the other side's still going to create lift. And if there's not a mechanism on the other side to balance it out, it's going to lift and roll the airplane. So that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. The only thing that saved them was the snow. That the snow coming up over the nose extinguished the fire. And that's pretty incredible. At the end of the day, these guys are, need to go to church, buy a lotto ticket, whatever it is. But, it's really lucky. Go ahead and play the video in case people haven't seen it yet.
All right. The other thing is I want you guys to watch where this is coming from. This is coming from the aircraft, another aircraft getting ready to taxi. So the other thing, as soon as the plane breaks up and you see all of the smoke, watch how fast it goes right to left.
Oh, we can't see it.
Is it not playing?
Yes.
Dang it.
No.
No. The video, I'll make sure we got the link and I'll share it to the social media, but it comes into land, and as soon as it lands, as soon as it hits, the right wing buckles, starts to roll, left wing rolls over. There's a big burst of flames, and miraculously everybody survived this one.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's crazy.
That is. Yeah. And I think we should all focus on that too. But for people to talk about, this is Trump's FAA, jumping down this rabbit hole. It's ridiculous. But both sides try to do it. They try to politicize everything right off the bat. It's like when there's a school shooter, like I don't say anything about trans or anything for months until I know, because like how foolish do you look when you go down this rabbit hole and you start all these fights that you're then going to have to look like an asshole when you go back and correct yourself. So, like with this pilot thing, I really didn't want to, blame the pilot or blame the helicopter or blame the FAA, blame the tower. Like there's stuff coming out right now. The black box is coming out that the Black Hawk that was involved in the Potomac crash didn't hear or didn't get the transmissions from the tower that they thought they did. So whereas everybody was like, no, they knew, they were told. Well, it's one thing to be told something and another thing to hear it. It's like it goes back to Uvalde. You can't, if your microphones don't work in a school, it doesn't matter what was transmitted on the microphones. If it's not getting to you, then you don't have that information, and that information is mute at that point. So literally mute.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff's coming from people that have never actually talked on some type of either a portable radio or a mobile radio in, whether it's a cop car, fire truck, ambulance, plane. You know, when you step on, it's very easy to step on people. Yeah, when you key up that mic, it opens that airway. And it could be at the same split second that two people key up a mic, and then all of a sudden one guy gets his message across, everyone hears it, but one guy doesn't. I mean, it's just very easy to make those assumptions.
And it's also, how many times are you running hot? You're looking at a mic. I mean, you're looking at a map. You're looking at the map. You have another car coming that takes your attention away for just a second. You're trying to think of what you're going to say when you get there. Maybe you daydream really quickly about where you're going to park your fire truck. Hey, we're coming up on this accident. I'm going to have to move my fire truck into the left lane and then come around to the right. So I need to go ahead and start checking my mirrors. You've missed whatever 5 seconds was on the radio with that thought process going through your head. So, I mean, these transmissions, and again, that's why I don't want to blame shit on anybody. I don't want to blame it on Canada or FAA or women pilots. I mean, even if there was a woman piloting this thing, is it her fault that she got caught in a sheer crosswind when they had to do a hard landing because of the ice anyway? No, it doesn't mean, not everything is just black and white. That's why we have investigations. That's why we have black boxes. That's why, we have independent panels that go and review these things. And so that's kind of my take on it. A lot of you guys were like, what do you think? And I base this off of messages because, I did receive a message that said, was it really women piloting? And I just answered, I don't know, but I would not ask anybody else that question. I wouldn't even think about it because there's no point, even if it was a woman pilot, it doesn't mean that she was incompetent or a DEI hire. It doesn't mean that, because there are amazing women that are not DEI hires. There are amazing women cops and firefighters that weren't DEI hires that actually belong there. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot that aren't, but not every one of them. So you have to just give them, the benefit of the doubt that they are one of the good ones first until they are proven to be one of the shitty ones. And I think that's where we fall short on both sides of the party. We had the patriotic games. It continues tonight. I watched I watched my first hockey game ever against Sweden 2 nights ago. Fabulous, fantastic. I've never watched hockey before. That's the most hockey I've ever watched. We lost to Sweden. That sucked, but we've got Canada tonight. I want to read this article really quickly on ESPN. I'm really a big fan of Canada's coach. Canada coach John Cooper hated the result, but had to admit that Team USA's thrilling, brutal 3-1 win in the NHL Four Nations face-off on Saturday night was a transcendent moment for hockey. The game, quote, this is coming from the Canadian coach, quote, the game is in a better place because of last night's game existed. That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? That's classy. He was classy at the end. I really just like the way that he put it. And it did, because I've never watched hockey. I'm now watching hockey, and one of our fans is trying to send me a hockey hoodie, which I think is hilarious. I was like, dude, save your money. But they were like, will you wear it if I send it? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I will for sure. So
sending you what?
A hockey hoodie, from a USA hockey hoodie. I thought that was sweet. I was like, yeah, I mean, I'll wear it. So we'll see. But I actually said save your money. Don't send me anything. Like, it doesn't even get cold enough here for hoodies. I sent it to Kiefer.
Apparently it does today.
Apparently it does today. But what do you think about the hockey game? I mean, obviously the viewership in hockey just went way the fuck up.
Oh yeah. And I think John and I are going to cover this rematch here on Illegal Shift at noon. But watching that, I watched a little bit of that first. I didn't get to watch all of it, the first game. But the unfortunate thing, and it's going to happen, but you just hate this. You want sports to be pure sports, but politics get pulled into it. And with all the shit with Trump saying Canada is going to be the 51st state, it pissed them off. And then so then here we are in this in this arena in Canada. They're cheering like gangbusters for "Oh Canada," and then they boo the national anthem, which then set the Americans off, on the hockey team, and they're like, pardon my language, all right, motherfuckers, it's time to go.
We'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way.
So what I love, the fact that, that's the best part of the hockey. The hockey games are the fights, but 3 fights in the first 9 seconds is absolutely amazing. I don't even know how you can choreograph that.
Yeah.
But the fact that 2 brothers were involved in 2 of the fights and their dad kicked the shit out of a Canadian hockey player years ago. So like there was like all these undertones that just made it. And then the fact, that we come out victorious, after our anthem booed.
Does the NFL, if you've been a sports analyst, does the NFL look at what made this go so ultra viral and literally converted more people into being hockey fans, selling more jerseys, more hoodies, more apparel in 1 week than we've seen probably in any other kind of one single sporting event? Does the NFL take note on what sparked that and go back to it, or they continue on status quo trying to play both sides of everything?
It's going to be status quo. I mean, it's the richest league out there. They don't need to do anything different if they don't want to. Now,
is the NFL bigger than the NHL?
Oh, by far. And I don't have numbers. I don't have numbers in front of me. I can try to find them, but I mean, the NFL. The NFL is huge, and they can do whatever they want. I would hope that they would take a little page out of this playbook, and no pun intended, but just get that. That NFL fans are crazy anyway, but so are hockey fans. If you're an avid hockey fan, just where I live, we have a minor league hockey team. I'm not a huge hockey fan. I'll sit there and watch it. I love going to the games. I mean, those are exciting as hell. But to sit and watch,
hockey seems way more interesting than football.
And it depends, and it can be. It absolutely can be.
Rugby is way more interesting than football.
It's so much more fast paced. I mean, you've got so many things going on. They're actually allowed to throw hands at each other, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, what more do you need?
I just watched my first hockey game, and I don't watch sports. I do sports. But I sat there and watched it and was thoroughly entertained the whole time, and I felt like this is how football needs to be, because it's like, you're like, oh, and it's like when the commercial comes, you're like, okay, cool. Like I need a minute to process everything that just happened before this commercial break. Whereas it's like in football, I feel like when a commercial break comes on, I'm like, Jesus, we just fucking had a commercial break. You just took 2 minutes to talk about something. This asshole is hurt. It's like, are we ever going to get back to playing this game? This is ridiculous. Right. Plus, isn't hockey a lot shorter of a game than football?
It depends.
Okay. And you play it for, if shorter duration, but football, you play and then stop, play and then stop, play and then stop, play and then stop. Here's the 2 biggest differences. Football, they introduce rules every year to stop people from hitting each other. Exactly. And in hockey, we just did 15 minutes on how 3 people started 3 fights in 9 seconds because you booed our national anthem. That's the biggest difference. NFL has to end racism. Hockey fans are like, defend our fucking flag.
Yeah.
Complete different ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah.
That's why the NFL.
So it's funny. Like I'll definitely be watching the game tomorrow night. I'm leaving tomorrow morning for right up around where you were at, Eric, up in Michigan. Okay. And I'll be meeting up with a bunch of my Canadian brothers in the Warthogs, my police and fire motorcycle club. We're having a big get together. But
Did you say Wild Hogs?
Warthogs.
Oh,
don't be a jerk, Eric. But there's going to be a lot of Canadian guys there, a lot of American guys there. And I know, and we're going to be in a bar, and I know everybody's going to be fixated to the TV. And there's going to be so much shit talking, which I love. And it's going to be fun to watch this and see how it unfolds. But I do like what the Canadian coach said and the way he said it. I do agree with you.
Yeah, that was pretty daggone classy. And when you're at that level, when you're actually a man sport and you have the confidence, you can be classy like that. I hate when coaches get up and get petty. But hey, listen, head over to ghostbed.com right now and get you sleep so good it's scary. Use that promo code Wolfpack. You guys are crushing it too on the Ghost Beds, man. Like, just got my Ghost Bed report back from Ghost Bed, and I just, it again goes back to, I'm so glad that we have fans that support us and that we drive so much for everybody. And 99% of you guys are audio listeners. I know I talk to the YouTube listeners, which, don't even make up a percent of who's listening on audio, but I can see my YouTube fans, right? And we can converse with them. And they're also, the YouTube fans are usually the ones that are most outspoken on social media. So that's why I'm always talking to them. But I have so much love for all you audio listeners out there and appreciate all that you guys do. If you're an audio listener, please leave us a 5-star rating or review. And it goes so far. You have no idea how far that goes. I'd love to get up to 100 by this summer. Reviews and listen, if every single person that listens on audio, if you guys all left a review today on this thing, if you left a 5-star rating and review, we would literally be trending at least top 20 on the charts right now for Spotify under political news commentary. So I mean, listen, that's how big of a deal it is. So it takes you right now just going over and leaving us a 5-star rating and review. It's too easy. If you're into books and you're trying to figure out what the next book to read, head over to Books Behind the Badge. Also go to battletested.com and get you some coffee, get you some salsa, see what it's all about. If you're into grilling and chilling, send me some pictures. We'll post it up on the Wolfpack FTS, the FTS Wolfpack private group on Facebook, which you guys can still be a part of, or the Failure to Stop page itself on Facebook or Instagram, or Fox, FAWKS on Instagram, Fox News Maine, or you can just hit us up individually if you want to. But going into the summer, it's really what I want to work on before I go on this book tour is the community that we have growing here, and just using the community to be. Mike Otis is in the chats. He is the owner of Battle Tested Sauce. We ran an ad earlier, Mike, about your coffee. Can you answer me a question while you're here, Mike? Really quick, because we're at the end of the show here. And we've got some people that have stuck around here for the end. Why is and this is a good thing, I'm not complaining, but I feel like the Battle Tested coffee it has less acidity than the other coffee that I've been drinking, which is really nice on my tummy. So I've really appreciated it. It doesn't say low acidity, but I'm guessing it is low acidity because it definitely doesn't give me heartburn or anything. So I just wanted to ask you about that. I'm digging all of the coffee that I've had so far, and I really like the low acidity factor. So that's new to me, by the way. Like I haven't had coffee that isn't so acidic. Which is actually dangerous because that means I can drink more of the coffee.
That's exactly what you need.
Because you know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Super Bowl champion Eagle says, also Tom Grassi is trying to raise $1 million for Children's of Patriot Scholarship Foundation. Go give his channel a like and donate if you can. All right, Tom Grassi. Mike Oda says it's much smoother. It is. Is that because it's less acidic, or is it just taste less acidic because it's smoother? I don't know. I'm not a coffee sommelier, so I don't know. But I'll say at the end of the day, I can drink this coffee. It's locally roasted and in small batches. Yeah, maybe that's the golden ticket. Head over to battletested.com. You can follow them on social media as well. Pick up a bag of coffee and just give it a try for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But I promise you, I have no reason to push this guy's product, or the fact that he sent it. He's not paying me or anything like that. So it's like I don't have any skin in the game, and I'm definitely not going to risk my reputation on trying to push something I'm not being paid for, only for you to try it and be like, "What the fuck?" So like I'm actually telling you that I'm risking. I'll stake my reputation on the coffee, and I've always done it. I've competed with the Battle Tested barbecue sauce, so I've already done that. But so you can literally, if I'm telling you it's good, it's because I personally really do think this is good. I'm not making money off of this little campaign. I'm just doing this week. He sent me some coffee. I let it sit around for a while. I have organic coffee myself. I went on vacation. I brought it with me. I brewed it. Maybe was going to make a social media post. And then I ended up, my wife and I talked about it, and we were like, dude, I love that this is like low acidity, and I don't feel like it's like he said, smoother than other coffee. And I've been drinking lots of, I always drink like organic coffees, and I also drink a lot of Black Rifle Coffee Company and stuff like that, or even First Responder Coffee Company. But this one is actually like stood out to me as being like, it felt lower acidity. It felt like it had a lower acidity to it than other coffees. At least that's the feeling that I got. It's the only way I can describe it. Again, not a coffee expert. So anyway, I thought I would talk about it today. I feel, and it's cool that Mike is in the chats. So appreciate you being there, guys. Thank you all so much for hanging in there. G.I. Joe said it the best. Maybe you didn't know about the coup against Mayor Eric Adams going on in New York. By the way, my last take on that is let the people vote for it. Don't oust the guy in New York for doing what New Yorkers wanted. Give them a vote. Let them vote. If they want him out, they get him out. But if you keep continuing to disregard the protocols in place, i.e., putting Kamala Harris in a position without actually voting for her to be in that position, or ousting your Democratic candidate without having an election, it like really makes you look. Isn't there a term for political movements like that, where you put somebody in place that nobody voted for and then you oust other people that they didn't vote to be ousted? Is that like coup? No, is that like dictatorship?
Dictatorship or
fascism,
overthrowing the government, something like that.
Fascism, something like that. I don't know. You tell me. I'm just a C- student at best. But maybe you didn't know about the Delta airline flip over or the patriotic games. Tomorrow's going to be a big day for hockey. So stay tuned today on Fox News. Here we do have sports with One More and I'm out of here, guys, and John Bates. That's coming down the pipe. They'll be discussing all things hockey, I'm sure, and everything that's going to be taking place tomorrow. So you don't want to miss that. Until next time, guys, guns up, giddy up. Take us out of here, Josh.